Okay, what's up everyone? Justin here. We're back for more CD collection. We got some CD collection. There's something else I want to talk about. First, we're listening to Carcass. This is called Live Symphonies. It's a tape, and I'm pretty sure it is a bootleg of a bootleg of a bootleg. Nothing in it. Paper insert. It's all Recaputrefaction and Symphonies of Sickness material. It says 1990, but I have no idea when it was actually recorded. But it sounds pretty decent for just a wretched cassette bootleg. So anyway, let's jump into the CDs, back into the collection. We're most of the way through the B's. So first we have Blue Holocaust, Twitch of the Death Nerve. This was came out on Murder the World Productions, which I have never heard of. Number 5, so maybe they did at least 5 releases. Blue Holocaust is a grind band, kind of gore grind band. All Gallo style horror influence, you know, Gallo inspired gore. Gallows are a type of horror movie. They're kind of dramatic, morose horror movies from the 70s and 80s. But anyway, this is just your standard, just kind of nasty, wretched gore grind. I haven't listened to it in a long time, but I remember really liking it when I got it. So next, we've got Blue Oyster Cult, Super Hits. I keep trying to hold these closer so you can see them. I watched my last video. I'm holding the CDs way back here, which does nothing. But this is just a standard, just super generic fucking greatest hits from Blue Oyster Cult. It's only got 10 songs on it. I don't know a whole lot about BOC, more than anybody else does. Don't Fear the Reaper and Burning for You. But this has got Godzilla on it, and Burning for You, and some other songs I've never heard of because I don't really listen to Blue Oyster Cult. But I bought this for like $1 in a cutout bin one time, and I listened to it a few times, but it's been so long since I've listened to that. Next we have a soundtrack. This is the soundtrack to Blue Velvet by Angelo Badalamenti. Angelo Badalamenti did all of the David Lynch movies. He may still do all the David Lynch movies, I'm not sure. But this is kind of just, if you've ever seen Blue Velvet or seen any of David Lynch's movies, or Twin Peaks, he did some of the music for Twin Peaks. This is just kind of jazzy, loungy, but eerie, you know, soundtrack music. I don't remember where I got this. I think this was a friend of mine's, and it got left at my house or something. But you know, it's good mood music every so often. But and Blue Velvet's fucking wild if you've never seen it. Then we've got 3 albums from Blue Os Nord. The Work Which Transforms God, Ultima Thule, and Memoria Vestua. These are both re-releases that I got to review as promos back years and years ago when you were a writer. CD or labels sent out actual CDs or promo CDs for review. Now it's all digital. You log into a website and you download the digital promo. But you used to get the actual CD in the mail, which was incredible. But, you know, Blue Os Nord is this really twisted black metal band, and these 2 releases are more straightforward compared to what they do now. And The Work Which Transforms God is really where they went left of center, when they went off the rails a little bit. This is a really wild, just dissonant record. I haven't listened to any of these in a long time, and I've never listened to them past this one. I know that they got kind of weird there. But I can't tell you what they sound like. I don't like the artwork on either one of these re-releases. These had really cool artwork on the original releases, and these just seem half-assed to me. Who put these out? Candlelight put them out, so there you go. But anyway, Blue Os Nord, I'll have to reacquaint myself. I was never a big fan. And I might have to check out what they're doing these days, so we'll see. Then we have Bohemian Grove. This is called The Eternal Search for an Elusive Understanding. Bohemian Grove was a grind band from Ohio, and the guitar player in this band was the original drummer for Pro Sanctus and Fairy, who of course is on Nuclear War now. They're a really fucking sick black death metal band. They got a little bit of Angel Corpse, a little bit of Argoslant. The guitar player from that band's a good friend of mine, and he used to play in my band. But we played some shows together, and when Steve was in Pro Sanctus, he gave me a copy of this, and I just remember it being pretty sick grindcore. I haven't listened to it in a long time. I'll have to throw it in again. I think they self-released this, and I think he gave me like 10 of these, and for a long time I had a stack of them. I don't know what happened to them though. I've just got the one now. Next we have a CD by a band called BONESCREW. This it looks like a homemade demo. This is paper. And then this is a CDR with a label printed on it. But I don't know where I got this or if I've ever listened to it. I don't know any of these names. I don't know where this came from. But 3 songs. It says Savage Lane Records, but maybe that's their own thing. Looks like a demo called This Is Not Reality. Don't know what it is. Don't know where it came from. I'll have to throw it on. We've got a CD by Bongzilla. Of course, Bongzilla is a sludge metal band, a stoner metal band. They're real fucking heavy. Of course, all of their songs are about smoking weed and about weed itself, if you look at the booklet here. I was never a huge Bongzilla fan, but yeah, I grabbed this at Vinyl Fever. Vinyl Fever was in Tallahassee, Florida. There's also one in Tampa, but I'd never been to that one. And I bought literally dozens and dozens of CDs from Vinyl Fever before they closed. They're just a really fucking heavy, groovy stoner metal band. The singer has a really high-pitched scream vocals. It's not clean vocals. But this is the only thing I have by them. This is Stash. I'm not sure where this falls in their discography. Came out in '99 on Relapse. And it looks like that I bought it in 2008, so I've had it for 10 years. But I like Bongzilla. I mean, you know, it's got to be your thing. But every so often you want something heavy and groovy like that. So throw it on. Speaking of heavy and groovy, we have Boris with Pink. Boris, of course, is a Japanese band, and their discography is just fucking exhaustive. I feel like they're putting out a record every 4 months or something, and their sound runs the gamut of, you know, stoner doom to dreamy, like, heavy pop music to just traditional doom. And I like a couple of their older records that came out before Pink that I have on digital format that I've listened to, but Pink is the only one that I really know and really, really like. This is a really heavy record, but it's also really ethereal sounding. I also have it on vinyl. And I saw Boris here in Atlanta as part of a festival 10 or 12 years ago, and they were fucking killer live. They put on a really good show, but I like this record. I like this one, but I can't get into the rest of I can't take the time to delve into the rest of their CDs, the rest of their albums. There's just so much there. So, but I'm a fan of this one. A good friend of mine said one time, he said, I'm not a fan of bands, I'm a fan of albums. And that's true in a lot of cases, because if someone said, hey, do you like Boris? I would be like, nah, not really. Hey, do you like their album Pink? Well, yeah, I like their album Pink. So I'm a fan of the album, not the band. Okay, we have Bowel with Rotten Fecal Duct. So, as we will get into down the line here, my favorite band of all time is Integrity, which are an old hardcore band from Cleveland, Ohio originally. Bowel was members of Integrity and other Cleveland hardcore guys trying to play death metal. And this is just a wretched, nasty, disgusting take on death metal in the mid-90s, but it's pretty fucking nasty, and I bought this because I was such a huge Integrity fan. I wanted everything. It came out on Dark Empire, which put out Integrity's first record. This came out in 1994. To the best of my knowledge, this was the only pressing of this album. Rotten Fecal Duct, it's sick. They have such a sick fucking logo, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, this is more or less kind of a joke project. I don't know if they really ever did anything, but I love it. And then we have Bowels Out. This is still sealed. If you're new to my channel, if you go back and watch my early videos, I talk about a gigantic CD trade I did with a label one time, and I got like 200 CDs more on the brutal death metal side of things, and a lot of them I've still not opened. I'm still going through them. And I just discovered the other day in my closet, I've got a couple of boxes, probably about 60 like extra copies of the stuff I've got on my shelves from that trade. So I'll have to go through those boxes and see what's there and see if anybody wants anything. So this is Bowels Out. This is called Enlightenment Through Dismemberment. That sounds like it's right up my alley. I'm going to have to open this up and listen to it. So it came out in 2005. Okay, so the other day when I was starting the Bees, we talked about Boy Sets Fire, which are an old post-hardcore band. And I had one CD. I had The Day the Sun Went Out, which is their first album. And it's up here somewhere. I can't find it now. And I don't know why I didn't think about it, but I've got 3 more of their albums too, and I guess shit was just out of order. But I have The Misery Index, Notes from the Plague Years. This came out on Equal Vision in 2006. This was like their comeback record when they reformed. You would think that a band that's halfway, you know, into the hardcore scene, you know, or halfway intelligent to the hardcore scene, would not name their album The Misery Index when the greatest grindcore album of all time is called Misery Index. But then this is The Day the Sun... Oh, no, I just have 3. Here's The Day the Sun Went Out that we talked about the other day. And then this is Before the Eulogy, which is just rarities, odds and ends. It's their demos, 2 demos, an EP, another EP, and then just some rare stuff. But like I talked about the other day, I like Boy Sets Fire. They're an old post-hardcore band, kind of an emo band. But they were sick. They were good at what they did. They had a very unique sound. So, I've always been a Boy Sets Fire fan. Next, we have Braced for Nails. This is an EP called Icons Above All Others. I think it's an EP. How many songs are on this? Let's see. It does not say. I think this might have been like their only release, but there's not a track listing anywhere. The inside just talks about the band. This was a split label release between Severed Records, Music Assault, which I'm not familiar with, and Ossuary Industries. I got this from Brian at Ossuary, did a trade with him several years ago. I remember this being just kind of thrashy, violent, brutal death metal. I don't really remember any of Throw It On Again. I remember liking it, but I think they were kind of a project band that did this and didn't do anything else. But I may be wrong. All right, last 2 in this group, and then we have a very short stack of B's before we get into the C's on our next video. But this is way off center here from what we're used to on my channel. These are 2 albums by the band The Bravery. And The Bravery, they are or were kind of a, I don't want to say they were goth, because they weren't goth. They're kind of like Joy Division, or they're kind of a dark, you know, melodic pop band. But I have their first one, which is just self-titled, came out in 2005, and their second one, called The Sun and the Moon, came out a couple years later. But this album I fucking love. The song An Honest Mistake had a video. It was, you know, real popular, and this is just good if you like shit like that. This one I didn't buy. A buddy of mine had it, and I took it out of his car one day, and I never gave it back. I think I listened to this one like once. I know this record backwards and forwards. But look up, I'll put a link in the description below. Check it out. I don't know how to describe it. It's just good. So, okay, real quick. I'm sure you'll see in the description, in the title of the video, that I put KILLJOY Tribute. So I'm recording this today. Today's March the 18th, and I'm sure this will go up a couple days later. But found out this morning that KILLJOY, Frank Pucci, from the band Necrophagia, died today, or this morning, or yesterday, recently. He was only 48 years old. And I've always been a huge Necrophagia fan. When I first got into really underground black and death metal around the late 90s, Necrophagia was a band that I got into pretty early, and it related to I was into horror movies. I got really, really into horror movies as a teenager, and when I found out that there's this kind of black death metal band that is all their shit's about horror movies, I was intrigued, and so I started listening to Necrophagia, and I read about Holocausto de la Mort in Metal Maniacs when it came out. See, I'm an old fart, but I'm not old enough to be around when Season of the Dead came out. But when I really started to get into underground stuff was when Holocausto came out. And I read about it, and I started looking for a copy, and I couldn't find one, but I started my eBay account in 2001. And I still have it. I've had the same eBay account for 17 years. If you went back through my history, this was probably the first album I ever bought on eBay. This is a Legacy of Horror, Gore, and Sickness, which is a 2 LP set of demos from Necrophagia. All this was recorded between 84 and 86. You've got liner notes from Maniac, from Mayhem. Double LP, it's on black vinyl. This came out on Hammerheart Records. But this is just a look back at the early stages of Necrophagia's sound. And I said the Season of the Dead came out in 83. They formed in 83. Season of the Dead came out in like 86 or 87, I think. I'm still too young to have heard it then. But this was my introduction to Necrophagia, which was good. It's a look at their infancy, and they're just a sick, thrashy black death metal band. They were never very, very heavy. They were never very, very thin. They always sounded real raw. They sounded like you were listening to a live recording, and that's something I always loved about them. But so this was the first thing I ever got, Legacy of Horror, Gore, and Sickness. And that's exactly what Necrophagia is. That is their legacy. Horror, gore, and sickness. They're one of the most perverse, fucking nasty fucking bands you will ever hear. So I've got that. And then I have... So they reformed in around 97, 98, and they put out Holocausto de la Mort. And Holocausto de la Mort is such a unique record. It doesn't sound like anything else. The coolest thing about it to me is the fact that Phil Anselmo from Pantera played guitar on it. And nobody thinks of Phil, especially then, as being a guitar player. And what a lot of people didn't know is that he was into the underground black metal scene way back then, you know, around the time Vulgar Display of Power came out. There are band promos of them back then, and he's wearing a Dark Throne shirt. And I mean, that shit was still so buried in the underground in the early 90s. And there's someone who's huge in the mainstream metal scene, representing bands like that. So he actually is the one who got KILLJOY to reform Necrophagia back then, and he wrote this record, Holocausto de la Mort. And I've always loved it. But this double, or it's a gatefold, it's a single record, but it's a gatefold record, was impossible to find. and I missed it when it first came out. I wasn't really into vinyl back then. Like I said, I bought this in 2001. It came out in 2000. I bought it in 2001. So by the time that happened, and I was just getting into buying vinyl then, this was long gone. There's a picture disc version of this that was easier to come by, but I didn't really care about a picture disc. It's just in a clear sleeve. And then one day, my buddy Leon Marcello, who some of you horror metal fans from around the internet should know Leon, he sold this to me. And he was friends with Killjoy, and this was his personal copy, and he sold it to me several years ago. He knew that I wanted it, and he was getting rid of some of his vinyl. So this is definitely a prized possession of mine. I absolutely love this record. Came out on Redstream and Hammerheart back, late 90s, I believe is when it was issued, when the CD came out. Back when nobody gave a shit about vinyl. But after that, they did the Cannibal Holocaust 10-inch. This came out on Season of Mist. No insert. 10-inch records are obnoxious because, they just are. This came out on Season of Mist and Displeased. And this is just an extension of Holocausto. It sounds just the same. It's a fucking killer record. EP. It's got 5 songs on it. So, must have if you're a Necrophagia fan. And then lastly, I have this bootleg called Eat the Bones. This has got a couple of demos on it. Well, it says, it's a rehearsal. October 31st, 1985. So you've got Nuns Have No Fun, of course, is a Merciful Fate cover. All of these, Autopsy of the Living Dead, that's on their first demo. Fuck. So, I don't know if I've ever listened to this. I've heard the material, but I don't know if I've ever put this on. This came out several years ago. There were some bootlegs floating around. I know who put this out, but I'm not going to put them out there like that. Oh, it's on black vinyl. I thought it was different. I want to say that this came out on like a piss yellow color vinyl, and at one time I got these for my distro, and I had the yellow version, and I sold it. But I also have their record, The Divine Art of Torture, which came out 2005 or so, and Phil Anselmo's not on that one, but it does have Mirai from Psy playing keyboards. And then I kind of lost track of Necrophagia after that. They disappeared for a long time. They've since been more active. They put out a few records. I've had some friends of mine tell me their most recent record in 2014 was really, really good. It's called White Worm Cathedral. He had an active band again, and they've been touring. They toured the States with Venom Inc. a few years ago, and they played here in Atlanta, and it was on a work night, and I just couldn't swing it. They're playing with Venom Inc., who I don't give a shit about, and now I'm kicking myself because Killjoy passed away today. But his legacy is definitely there. I've seen a lot of tributes to him, and a lot of bigger name people in the metal and horror scene, paying tribute to him. And I think that's fucking awesome. He left a lasting impression, and he's going to be missed, and Necrophagia is going to be missed, but, they were there in the beginning. They were one of the cornerstones of that sound, and you can't deny that with Season of the Dead. So, hails to Killjoy, and hails to Necrophagia, and let's talk about it in the comments. See you guys next time.